Welcome to the Truth Warriors podcast. I'm your host, Cosmic Cayce, and this is a podcast about talking like nobody's listening, because that's when the real truth is heard. So on this podcast, what you're going to get is you're going to get the full, absolute, raw truth from me about what I feel. So if I do make something that is incorrect, an incorrect statement, I will make sure to go back, correct it, and if you heard me say something that was incorrect, let me know, and I will be sure to rectify that. So this is a podcast about truth, and sometimes we share opinions that feel like truth that might not be, so be forewarned. And so what's this going to be all about? It's going to be about having amazing people who are successful or spiritual or whatever you want to come onto this podcast and just talk the truth about whatever they want to talk about, right? So today you got me, Cosmic Cayce, Cayce Kolodny. And you can follow me on Instagram at Cayce Loves, or you can, watch this on YouTube or Spotify, whichever one you're doing. Go check out the other ones. Wicka, 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 what? Wicka, what? Wicka, what? So today I'm just going to kind of go through what I know you guys want me to talk about, talking about my Instagram followers, which are the questions that were asked of me yesterday when I asked you guys, give me some questions. I want to give some advice. I want to talk. I want to make content. So I chose 3 of the questions as like the main questions that I want to talk about. Actually 4. And then I'll go through the rest of the questions because they're quick. At the end, I'm just going to fire through. And just to give you, some perspective on what those are like, are you my dad? Well, some of them are good. One of them is, have you ever blown yourself? Which I guess I will answer. This is the Truth Podcast. That's the truth. Somebody asked that, and I will answer that question at the end of the podcast. So stay tuned. But the ones that I want to focus on today, and there's definitely more here, we'll see how much time we have once we start getting through this, is, how was it for me to grow up with my mom? Because I want to tell you guys a little bit about me. Then the one about trusting intuition. How do we trust our intuition when we've been so indecisive our entire life? A practice around that. I'm so excited to cover that one. And somebody asked me, do I use frequency or vibrational healing technology? And the answer is yes, and I'll tell you more in a moment. And then the next question that I want to cover is, what question do you ask a good friend to connect on a deeper level and have a vulnerable conversation, which I think is a really important question. And then there's some about, about teenagers who are unable to go to school and play sports and are cooped up in the house because of coronavirus. That's what we're going to be covering. So first, a little bit about me. I'm going to answer that first question. What was it like to have a mom like my mom? So if any of you don't know, my mom's name is Kelly Kolodny. And Kelly Kolodny has this supernatural ability to channel beings from other realms. And in particular, she's known for channeling the frequency of Archangel Raphael. And that soul signature comes right on through and gives beautiful divine wisdom and helps teach classes and changes people's lives every goddamn day for the past 30 years. And so, that sure was a magical experience for me as a kid, as well as the fact that my mom is also psychic, which can be a little difficult as a teenager when you're growing up. I'm going to take off these glasses. If you guys aren't watching on YouTube, go watch, because I've been wearing these glasses and I look like one of the 3 blind mice. I like the glasses back on. I'm going to keep them on. I feel much cooler. All right. So, how did my mom start channeling, right? That's probably what you're wondering. How does that happen to a person, right? It's kind of weird. So my mom was about my age, and she was with my Aunt Mary Ellen and my Aunt Jane, and they were with my Uncle Arno, and he was practicing network chiropractic. And network chiropractic is almost like a form of energy healing. It's like a form of chiropractic where you don't quite touch the spine. And during this session, they all started like singing and all this crazy stuff was happening, which they were having a Kundalini awakening. And there's many crazy stories that go along with this, but essentially that Thanksgiving, my Aunt Mariella, my mother's sister, just boom, Raphael came right through my mother's sister on Thanksgiving, gravy in hand, just, and people in my family were not used to this. My family is kind of into that stuff now, but then they were in an Irish Catholic family. It was like, whoa, Mary Ellen took too many mushrooms. And so she started channeling. Soon after that, my mom did, and all kinds of spirits came through for a while, but finally they were able to tune in to this beautiful energy that called itself Archangel Raphael, and they were able to bring that through consistently. And so then my mom, my entire life, has been able to bring through Archangel Raphael, and I've been able to talk to an angel anytime I want. Not anytime, because it takes a lot of energy. My mom was channeling willy-nilly for a while, and then we went and saw the person who channels for the Dalai Lama, and they were talking about the fact that channeling is equivalent to 8 hours of manual labor. And I was like, holy shit, my mom has been working a ton. So we were like, okay, got to cut that, because it had led to my mom having health issues. And I think it's because it's like plugging in, some sort of like something super high volt. It's like a electrical surge that breaks the TV. My mom's a TV, and the lightning bolt is Archangel Raphael. So in order to have a more compatible vibration with Raphael, my mom needed to change her diet and all kinds of stuff like that in order to raise her vibration, so that the jump between the vibration of her and Archangel Raphael wasn't so severe, causing such disturbances and fragmentation within inside the body. Anyway, back to me. Growing up with that, I remember my first channeling session. I was in preschool. I was asking if Maddie Walsh had a crush on me, because I liked her, and Raphael gave me this whole description of our past lives together when she was a nurse and I was a soldier, and all this really cool stuff. And I remember asking about God, and I, at that time, I've been receiving this information my entire life, but my brain has finally started to catch up. Like, my processing power has finally started to catch up with the energy that I've been receiving, because the thing is, the words aren't even that important when it comes to the channeling. What's really important is the energy, because it's integrating into your DNA. It is recoding your DNA right then and there, which is why when we teach classes, because I teach classes with my mom, you can take one of our classes called Surfing the Tsunami. You can go to either my website or her website and find out more information on that. But in that class, if you just listen to it, or you go listen to some of my mom's YouTube videos, that's all you got to do. You don't have to do the practices. You don't have to see the mumbo jumbo. All you have to do is sit there and listen, and it'll have a profound impact on your DNA structure and your life, which is absolutely incredible. So growing up with my mom, I definitely had an advantage in a spiritual aspect. I was able to ask about crushes and everything like that. My mom's brilliant at reading tarot cards. And then from there, Raphael was constantly giving me guidance on my life and my career of like, where am I going? What am I here to do? And of course, Raphael never likes to give you the answers, because you have to figure it out all on your own. But there will be wisdom and there will be guidance, and Raphael will point to which timeline leads to which. And so I remember when I was 17, I went into the forest and I did a 2-week juice fast. I just drank only juice for 2 weeks in the forest and really found myself. And I've gone on and done multiple, I would call them retreats, where I spend a long period of time by myself, disconnected from everything. And that's, I think, where I've had the most spiritual growth in my life, and decided what kind of person I want to be. And a big inspiration on doing this podcast is that I feel when I talk to people that, so many people are lost. So many people are lost. And especially our youth, because I started working with younger kids, like younger boys, like young men, like 12 to 16, that had crippling anxiety, were not able to go to school, just had no coping skills for life. And I was like, wow, Technology is changing us, and we're losing our coping skills, and we're losing what it means to be human and what it means to be, quote unquote, a man. Like, what is masculinity? Because we're so focused on toxic masculinity that we forget what the good aspects of it are. And I want to talk about that, of course, a bit. There's just so much I want to talk about. But a funny story about having a psychic mother, right? Because we're still on that topic, is I remember one time, me and my friends, we were going to go to this older kid. We were like in 10th grade in high school, and some senior was having this party. And we snuck out the garage. There's no way anybody could hear us. It was like super late at night. And we're almost there, and I get a call from my mom. I'm like, oh, shit. And I pick up the phone, and my mom's like, I thought you were going to come back, but you didn't. If you guys aren't back here in 10 minutes, everybody's calling their parents and has to go home. So we just sprinted through the snow. I was wearing like knee-high moccasins because I thought that was cool for some reason, which it is cool. It's definitely cooler now than it was then, for sure. I would definitely wear those today. And so, yeah, or when I was going to smoke weed for the first time, I think I was, 13 or 14, and we took off our shirts because we didn't want it to smell. And we were like, okay, let's smoke. And I get a text from my mom, make good decisions. Because she knew. And that night I got caught for smoking weed. She always knows, and she just sometimes chooses not to know. So that is what it was like to live with my mom growing up. So check out my mother. She's an incredible lady. And she infused my life with so much love, confidence, and a deep caring for the world and everybody in it. Okay, so next question. Trusting our intuition when we've been indecisive for so long. The first thing that I want to say is that there are no wrong decisions, right? The important thing is to make a decision, or else you stay still and you're nowhere and there's no growth. Because Peter Crone has a great quote about this. And he says, if you made a wrong decision or something bad happened to you in your life, he says this to you. What happened and couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. And that's the beauty of life. Everything is divinely perfect, and you have to trust that you are divine, and every decision you are going to make is divine. And sometimes it's going to lead to outcome that you see as not optimal. But in reality, it is optimal because there is a lesson there and there's something to learn. And, so many people I talk to are afraid, essentially, that they are going to venture off their path or not fulfill their destiny or not meet their full potential. And what I'm saying to you is that, like, your path, your soul contract to do what you have to do is so incredibly strong that no matter how many times you decide to branch off of that, you're always going to swing back. You're always going to swing back. So you decide to do one thing, right? And you branch off. This is a learning opportunity so that when you swing back to your mission, you're an even better person. Of course, you could have made that decision now, but you can just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. And you will always come back to an opportunity to choose that path. If that opportunity is meant for you, it will happen. It will happen. Just trust in that. Trust that what is meant for you will happen for you. And it will. No matter what decisions you make, see them as a learning opportunity. Do not get stuck on them and keep moving forward. Keep making more decisions and keep moving forward and make those decisions with absolute certainty, because that's the way to live confidently. Whether it's a right or wrong decision, make it with absolute certainty. Don't go like, oh, you're at a menu and you're like, should I have the tortellini or should I have the hamburger? Well, this, that, that. No, make that decision and don't be like, oh man, I should have had the hamburger. No, you got the tortellini. Enjoy the tortellini, and you can know that next time you'll get the hamburger. It was a learning experience, right? But don't complain about it the whole time. And if you really don't like it, just send your food back. I'm sure there's a way to do that in life. But the same thing with the menu around making decisions, right? So many of us try to make decisions with our intellect, right? Which is a phenomenal tool. It's what makes humans, what we are, right? Look at the world around you. That our intellect is made this, right? But when it comes to making decisions, the intellect is the advisor. It's kind of what rationalizes everything. But what you really want is in your heart. What you really want is deep down inside your heart. And how do you access that? You just tune in. Or you just ask yourself, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? We're all chasing feelings. And, that's the old sales proverb, right? Stories sell, facts tell, right? Or facts tell, stories sell, whichever way you want to go about it. Because we're sold on the emotion. We make decisions based on emotion and then rationalize it or figure out how to make it a reality with our mind, which is a phenomenal tool. So make sure you're using the right tool for the wrong thing. If you ate cereal with a knife, you probably cut your tongue. It's actually kind of dangerous. So, because your mind can rationalize anything. You say, do I want tortellini or hamburger? Come up with a million reasons why to have tortellini and a million reasons to have a hamburger. But the only thing that's actually going to make that decision is how you want to feel at the end of the day. So if you want to be more decisive, tune into how you want to feel. Use your intellect to get there, right? To make it happen. And move with absolute certainty and trust that everything's divinely perfect and what is meant for you will come back for you. And anything coming into your reality right now is meant for you and is here to teach you some sort of lesson. You have been knighted by the universe that you have the potential to be presented into this situation and bring it more into oneness consciousness. Say, all of a sudden you find yourself in a deep depression. How is that the universe's path for you, right? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it does. Because the way that you get out of a depression is, one, accept it. Accept what's going on and be with it, be present with it. And as you become present with it, you learn to love that part of yourself. And as you love that part of yourself, everything becomes easier and you start making decisions out of self-love instead of self-harm, and you can come back into the present moment rather than being so fixated on the past. And when you are able to do that, then you are able to have compassion for others in that situation and know how to deal with them. And then as you have compassion, that is a higher consciousness, that's a fifth dimensional consciousness frequency. And compassion is bringing you closer to oneness consciousness, because if you have compassion, if you have empathy, that means that you are realizing your oneness between you and that other person, right? The things that bring you together, because you are all one at this anyway, right? Because if you're hurting, I'm hurting, you're hurting, and that we're so caught in our boxes of separateness that we forget that. And that's what's wrong with this planet, is the illusion of separateness has been too strong for too long, and it's time to break down that paradigm, baby. Anyway, that was a long answer to that question, but to sum it up, let me say it one more time. How do you start trusting your intuition when you've been indecisive your whole life? And the answer is to make decisions with absolute certainty. Know that no matter which decision you make, it's divinely perfect. And make that decision based on how you want to feel. And that's how you start to move on from there. And the more that you trust yourself and the more things tend to work out, look for how this is going to work out. No matter what decision you made, it's like, how was this a good decision? And know how it wasn't. How can I make a better decision next time? Because life is all about the questions that you ask, right? You will always get the answer to the questions that you ask. Oh, why was this such a bad decision? You're going to get a million answers. How is this such a good decision? Blah, blah, blah. You get a million answers. How can I make a better decision next time? You get a million answers. So that's that. Next question, right? Do I use frequency or vibrational healing technology? Yes. Vibrational frequency healing technology is the future of medicine. I'm saying it here. I'm saying it now. That is my truth, and I believe that will be the truth, and Raphael has said that. And there are devices that are doing it that are absolutely profound, because at the end of the day, we all are vibration. We all are frequency. Atoms are 99% emptiness, and what keeps us all together is that they're just vibrating at a certain frequency, and that's what we are. Our consciousness is a frequency, sound is a frequency, light is a frequency. And so if we want to heal something, we should use the tools that made it, right? And that's frequency. And by using that frequency, we can go in, light can travel infinitely far, and light can actually hold different frequencies. And we can create the inverse frequency to the disease that is in our body and neutralize it and raise our vibration, raise our frequency. Now, I'm not an expert on that, so don't take my word for it, but that is my understanding of, what's going on with these frequency therapies. They're able to create such a high frequency in the body that a lot of these viruses or like Lyme disease can't survive in that environment and get neutralized. And so when it also comes to healing, I am a big proponent of Qigong. Qigong, ancient Chinese healing technique where you have this whole energetic field. You have your toric field all around you, and all of your organs have energy, and we can see each other's auras and everything like that, and people like to woo that push poo, but really it's a real thing. And so a lot of the times our fields become jagged because our minds are putting out things on an electrical frequency, and our emotions are putting things out on a magnetic frequency, creating our electromagnetic field, which, based on how that's vibrating, we attract things into our reality, right? The EMFs that are surrounding us, electromagnetic field, right, that are surrounding us from the 4G and everything like that, are causing fragmentation and disruption within inside of our field. That's why you see an upsurge in depression, an upsurge in anxiety, because there's fragmentation within inside the field. And so the way that I like to work with people and their emotions is to bring unison, bring emotional coherence by communicating emotion to emotion with one part of yourself, the parent part of yourself, talking and kind of sorting all the emotions out so they get on the same page. And so Qigong is just a way of kind of balancing all of your energy through movement. And you can look the studies up on Qigong, especially when it comes to depression and when it comes to chronic pain. The Mayo Clinic actually did a study and found that people who had been suffering from chronic pain for 5 years plus were finally able to find relief in Qigong. So it really works. It's really worth giving it a try. I love Spring Forest Qigong. Really, check that out. I'm going to do some Qigong on my Instagram, so follow me at Cayce Loves, and you can try it for yourself. I'll give you a free sample, right? And so then the final question that we're going to wrap up with today before I just spit and fire the answers to the rest of the questions are, what's a good question? So the next question that we're going to do is, what's a good question to ask if we want to become more vulnerable with our friends? How do we connect deeper to our good friends? And this is coming from a man. And I think this is really an important topic. Because men kill themselves a lot. I think 72% of all suicides, you can check me on that. I'll go back and check that fact. I'm pretty sure that 72% of all suicides are men. Men are killing themselves. And I do think that it has to do with the toxic masculinity idea of not being able to share your emotions, or the fear of looking vulnerable or looking weak. And so how do we recognize vulnerability as strength? Because, vulnerability is the way that we actually get to strength. A lot of times when we're really vulnerable, we're not strong, we're just vulnerable. But if we can actually go to that vulnerability and work through that vulnerability, we can become immensely strong. It's just like your emotion. It's just like your muscles. You got to break down the muscle in order to get stronger. You got to break down emotionally in order to get stronger emotionally, right? And stuffing it all down is just going to lead to addiction or just a variety of escapist, is that the word? Escapist tactics in order to avoid the emotional pain that you're dealing with, right? and it's just going to get louder and louder until you can't drown it out anymore. So I think this is really important that we need to connect with each other. So a question to ask, let me think about this. So the first thing that I want to say is that you never want to make somebody, like, especially when it comes to a man, you don't want to make them feel like they're weak, right? You don't want to be like, I see this in you, blah, 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 blah. The best thing to do emotionally with anybody is active listening, which essentially is not telling them how they feel, but, asking them how are they really doing? Hey man, how are you really doing? Or get specific on whatever it is that's going on in their life. Don't be afraid. Be like, hey, I heard your aunt died. I know you might not want to talk about it, but how are you doing? I'm really genuinely curious, right? And just be completely honest and upfront with them, because when you're honest and upfront, that really opens the door. If you start fishing around, like trying to ask a question to see if they're going to open up, they're not. You got to hit them right where it is. Hey man, your girlfriend just broke up with you. I know that I was really in a hard place when that happened. How are you doing with it? Right? Don't tell them how they're feeling. Don't tell them that it must be rough. You can say your experience, but it might not be rough for them, and they don't want you to make that assumption. So the best thing is to just kind of talk about exactly what you want to talk about and be straight up with them, and just be curious. Bring the energy of curiosity. And I would say, I think 90% of communication is done in body language and your energy. So make sure that you have the right energy when you're going in and asking that question. Tune in. Make sure your heart's open. Look them in the eye. You might want to touch them on the knee. Maybe not. Depends on your relationship with them. Maybe touch them on the back. And the best way to evoke vulnerability from someone else is to be vulnerable yourself, and to show that it's strong, and come from a place of strength as you're vulnerable. Share something that happened to you and how you grew from it. That also shows that you're emotionally intelligent, and they'll probably open up. Oh, but what I was saying before is about the act of listening. They'll say something, and you just repeat back to them exactly what they just said, so that they feel heard. Because a lot of times people don't want you to solve their problems. They just want to be heard. They want to be validated, and they want you to know that, what they're going through, and they want you to get it. And so someone says, yeah, and then she said this to me, and it really hurt my feelings because that's what my mom used to say to me when I was a kid. You go, wow, so that really hurt your feelings because that's what your mom said to you when you were a kid. Wow, that's crazy, dude. Right? See, I just repeated back to them exactly what they just said. So it's easy peasy. And all right, so the answer to that question is essentially listen, be direct, don't, make assumptions, and be aware of your energy. And that's how you get somebody to open up and connect with you. Open up your heart, and they will open theirs. All right, so the rest of the questions. I got to take off my sunglasses in order to read these. Okay, so are you my dad? No. Do you love me? Yes. How do you get the feeling that you should care for the world and not be selfish? Essentially, it's just realizing that you are the world, and that in order to be selfish, you need, if you want to take care of yourself, you have to take care of the whole world. That everybody is you. Oneness consciousness. Be in a state of love and remove fear from your life. The next question is my signs. I am a Pisces sun sign, a Virgo moon sign, and a Gemini rising. Have I ever blown myself? There is no try. There is only do. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. I didn't actually blow myself. I just wanted to see if I was flexible enough. So I would say no, I've never actually blown myself. Do you, and I think that's gonna sum it up for today. Oh, and how am I really doing? Now that's a good question. How am I really doing? Honestly, I am doing really well. I'm doing, like, things have come up in my life, but I am in such acceptance and in such a point of my spiritual growth that I often feel unshakable because I feel like I can accept everything, that I live by the law of impermanence. Of course, I am constantly observing how I could be more loving or more kind or be a better person or stick more to my character. But none of those things get me down. I'm not hard on myself about it. I'm grateful that I have the awareness and that I have another chance to try again. So overall, how am I really doing? I'm here and I'm present and I'm working on opening my heart and I feel like I'm doing well. So that's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have any more questions, please DM me on Instagram, email me at my name, CayceKolodny@gmail.com. I'm going to post this on YouTube and Spotify. All right. Love, love, love. It's all about the love, baby.